Hello there. Here we are again on Wednesday, and it is already July, which is insane. But I really was thinking through some different material, different ideas that I've been reading and that I've been benefiting from, and how relevant it is to health. And a lot of it is just looking at life from a leadership perspective. And as I was reading through this material and listening to some of the really encouraging segments, I just saw such a parallel. So I wanted to share that with you today. And just looking at how we accept the things that are getting in our way when it comes to our health and performance, and how to diffuse that. And I think, sorry, little noise going on with the airplane going overhead. But one of the thoughts that I have is what we tend to go to when we are feeling blocked or when we're not achieving our health. And especially when time has gone by, a lot of effort has gone into it, and we're not really achieving our objectives. We can feel frustrated or angry and just exasperated, like nothing's working, I'm frustrated, it's over, like look at all these things. When you get to this place, I recommend that you proceed with caution, because what follows can be our undoing, and that is blaming. When we get into that zone of blame, it can completely take over. And the reason that it's so dangerous is because we're giving away our power. When we blame, whether it is the economic status in the world, if it's, I blame the media, the government, we blame our family members or our spouse or just our circumstances in general, even our own DNA we can blame. I hear it quite often where people will say that they have a health issue, but they really just chalk it up to their DNA and they really just don't have any way of handling it. You know, there's nothing they can do. And that is the point, is it is putting us in a mindset of having no control. And when we give away our power to blame, when we give away our power to frustration and anger and acceptance, essentially, of not getting where we want to go, it's over. Like, until we change that fact, we're giving in, we've conceded, we're pulling back all of the troops, we're not doing anything to fight. We are giving up. And that's unacceptable. And especially when it comes to health. Good Lord, we don't have the right to give up like that, because there are people in our lives that need us. There are callings that we need to expand into and accept the challenge. We can't be unhealthy, or even worse, just give up entirely and die when we have things that we need to do. So I encourage everyone to accept the fact that there are always going to be outside factors that influence, play a part. They will come and go. But take what Kevin Trudeau calls it, the 10-second miracle. And he has gotten it from someone else. So it's been carried on for a long time through many different people and many different teachings. But the 10-second miracle is when we decide to take personal responsibility and stop blaming. When we stop thinking that it's someone else's responsibility to save us or to help us or to direct us, or it's not to say you can't have that. I'm not saying because having oh my goodness, I think it's hugely valuable to have a community that you can align with and that can support you, and have teachers and trainers and supporters and coaches and counselors, all of that. It's all very valid and very helpful, but it isn't all reliant on them. We have to take responsibility and accept that how we respond to our environment, and even the teachings of our what we're learning and the coaching that we're getting, all of that we have to respond to. And if we respond in a way that is, well, let me put it this way. If we react instead of respond, so we react emotionally, or we react in a visceral, I can't handle this right now, this is ridiculous, this is your fault, this is their fault, this is too much, whatever that reaction is not helpful. What we need to do is take a step back when we feel that sensation, when we feel that coming on, because we know we can become very habitual in our reactions. And what we need to do is turn reactions into responses, where we take a step back and we think about what it is that we are experiencing and how do we want it to go? What do we want to be the outcome? What do we need in order for it to be the outcome or become the outcome that we want it to become? And when we respond in that way, we are retaining our power. The other thing is, so we've decided to take personal responsibility for our future in that 10-second miracle, and everything can change then. Instead of saying, but this happened and that happened and this thing, and oh my gosh, I can't, this is really why I'm having health issues. And then that is really adding to it. And then I can't even believe that I have to deal with this on top of all of that. Like, no, we are always going to have circumstances, which means, are we always going to accept that we're going to be ill, or that we're going to have performance challenges or things that we don't want in our life and we want to change, but we aren't taking the responsibility to change? Dude. No, we need to take charge and say, this is unacceptable. I need to make this what I want it to be. Now, I'm not saying that things don't happen that things happen that are out of our control. There's no question. We're not going to control other people, for sure. We're not going to control the government, for certain. We are not going to control those variables. And I don't want to try, because that's exhausting. But what we need to realize is we can control how we respond to them. And sometimes it means shutting the shit off. It means shut it out. Just, I can't, right now, this is not supporting the direction that I'm going, and I can't allow it to influence me in this moment. It's not saying we're in denial. It's not saying that we are never going to watch the news again, or that we're never going to talk to that friend again even. But it does mean that we need to recognize what our boundaries are. What is supporting us? Okay, so let's back up. When it's really critical, when we recognize that we're in this place of blame, to give ourselves some grace, because it happens to everyone, all of us at different times, in maybe once a day, twice a day. Sometimes when we're well practiced, it only happens once a month. But we get into that mode. As soon as we recognize it, we need to pull ourselves out. We need to start recognizing our personal responsibility, not saying we're blaming ourselves either though. We're taking responsibility for how we can take things in a new direction. And when we do that, we are not controlling our surroundings or our circumstances. We're responding to them. And we're saying, okay, so how do I want this to go? What is it? Where am I right now with my health? And how is this circumstance influencing it? When we do this and we take the time to really assess it, we're basically doing a gap analysis. We're looking at where we are today, where we want to be, and what's in the way. And then sometimes it can take an extra step of figuring out how can we avoid or manage that external item, if it's, let's say, a relative, or if we have a circumstance that is, let's say, a job that we need to go to this job and it seems to be interfering with our health. How can we establish boundaries and a mindset, let's say, that will support us and still allow us to have an income and not compromise our health? So we're really looking at what the ultimate goal is for us and how we can work around some of those circumstances. When we see ourselves as a victim, again, we are completely giving away our control. We're not in a position of power. We are looking at it as just like a feather in the wind. We are going to go whichever way that circumstance pushes us, and c'est la vie. And that is really not serving us. I just think if we can take the role of leader and become the commander of our health, we are going to feel it immediately. As soon as that's why they call it the 10-second miracle, because as soon as you make that determination and you decide that's the way it's going to be, you feel it. And just put little reminders of what decision you've made, and then it will give you that opportunity each time you falter. It will remind you that you can just pull yourself back up and recognize this is not the way it's going to go. I'm not going to start blaming. I'm not going to be a victim. I am going to take responsibility. What can I do? Now, the first thing I would say is identify the status. Where are you right now? Where do you want to be? And again, what's in between you and your goal? And then really look at what knowledge, experience, and where can I put my attention? What knowledge do I need? What experience do I need? And where can I put my attention that is going to draw me toward my goal and bring me out of this situation that I've been in? Set your expectations and make sure that you are just moving toward those expectations, because it's always a good benchmark when you are making decisions and going through your day and things start pulling you off course. You can ask yourself the question, is this taking me closer to my goal or farther away? Or is it just keeping me, am I just treading water? So being able to appreciate, even when it comes down to what you're eating, it might be, is this, let's say that the goal is to have more energy. Is this going to give me more energy, or does it draw me down? If you don't know, that's totally fine. When you eat it, track it. Do I feel like I have more energy after I eat, or do I not? And the items that you're eating may be a factor or are likely a factor, but overall, I've had clients that no matter what they eat, they feel like every time they eat, they're drawn down. So that's gut health. We have to look at you know, if they have any kind of microbiome imbalance or intestinal permeability, looking at those things that like can help them to then start processing their nutrients more efficiently and really start absorbing the nutrients that give them energy. Certain supplements can also contribute to a greater amount of energy and better quality sleep. So when we start looking at, though, what our goals are and what our expectations are, then we have to look at what are the variables, like the food and the nutrition, the supplements, the activity level, so many different things that we have control over that we feel like in the moment we've lost control over. But we can gain that perspective again and start to really leverage that. We need to establish non-negotiables, and this is really important because when we recognize that there is something that really draws us out of our zone of accountability, we need to say no. And if we can identify that for now it's a no, it doesn't mean forever. It might be sweets. I have had clients who, and this is a question I typically ask of before we do DNA assessment. Once we see DNA, I can pretty much tell. But like, if you eat anything sweet, including fruit, does it make you crave more sweets? Or does it satisfy you? And when it makes you crave more sweets, a lot of times when it's a weight thing or when it's a blood sugar issue that we're trying to address, then we look at, okay, so maybe right now we need to avoid all sweet foods. And then once we get to the point where you have better control over blood sugar and we have implemented some of the strategies of supplements and eating strategies and such that are working, then we can reintroduce and see what your tolerance is. But it's those kinds of strategies that are very individualized and can be based on DNA, can be based on goals, and certainly experience, lifestyle, and you know, the things that we've already observed in our lives. It's really important to set standards for our days as well, because if we have a standard that every single day we have some like 20 minutes of activity, then we can further refine and decide, what do I feel better? Do I feel better after I do yoga or after I go for a walk in nature? Or do I feel better when I am doing a cardio workout? Really identifying what is fulfilling, both from a physical standpoint, but also feeling like accomplished and actually feeling like my body feels really good and mentally I feel really good after these commitments. And then that reinforces that's the direction we want to go. So I think, just recapping, what we don't want to do is get into that mode of blame, because when we feel like our goals and our outcomes are dependent on all of the external factors that are in our lives, we give up our control. And I feel like we all have an opportunity in different facets of our lives, but especially with health, because so often we feel overwhelmed because, let's say, we get advice from 50 different directions and we don't know what to do, and so we do nothing. It's, you know, analysis paralysis. We need to take a step back and recognize that that is an external factor that we need to step away from for the moment and really commit to either one thing, or we say, you know, we're just going to listen to our intuition and really pay attention to our body. One of the biggest things that I recommend first thing out of the gate for people is to start tracking. So it's not tracking everything. It's not, again, don't overwhelm yourself. It's identifying and bringing it into what are the most essential things that are going to move you towards your goal, and recognizing one, maybe two goals. Because if you are looking at, if I were to sit here and list all my goals for you, health and otherwise, we'd be here all day. And I know we all have these goals. We all have all these dreams and all these ambitions, and this is what, but you know what? I can't tackle them all at once. Just like I can't sit here and talk about all the different things that are important in one live, because it's just going to overwhelm you. It's going to overwhelm myself, and it's not going to serve anybody. And so I think that it's important to give yourself some grace in this process and recognize that letting go of some of our old habits takes some time. We need to appreciate the time that it takes, and when we're identifying that we make the commitment, we are definitely going to stop the blaming. We're going to take personal responsibility for our health and our performance. We are going to move into a new era. Then what we want to do is we need to make sure that we are not manipulated or managed by our circumstances. We take the role of leadership and we start gaining knowledge. We identify what our current status is and where we want to be. We recognize some of the obstacles that tend to get in our way, and we can even develop some strategies around those individual things. And set expectations, establish non-negotiables, and the standards that we want to hold for our health and performance. And then we just implement, start tracking, figure out strategies. If you don't know what strategies or you feel locked in, let's have a call, let's talk. Because it's important that you take one step at a time. Figuring out what that one step is can be a little challenging because we've got so many different things we could be doing. And it's really important for us to make that the right choices that we feel then are paying off, because then we're encouraged to take that second step. If we take the wrong step at first and we feel like we haven't gotten anywhere and there's no accomplishment, then we're discouraged and we may just give it up and try a new, it's like we shift to a whole new track. I mean, we have to stop seeking a quick fix and do the work. And it's not always easy, but it does pay off. And I promise you, when you take personal responsibility and you start seeing things moving in the right direction and you start gaining momentum, it is so gratifying. And you realize it is all worth it. And this, you would do it no other way. Now, if there was a pill that would do that for us, that would be magical. But I know hundreds of people that I have worked with over the years, and those pills don't work. They make a lot of promises, and they offer a lot of side effects and a lot of drawbacks. And I don't know, I'm not for that, and I'm not going to play that game. But I do think that we need to look beyond that. We need to realize what we have in our own realm, in our own capability, is the ability to make changes and really see progress. So with that, I will leave you, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of the week. And if you have any questions, let me know. Talk to you soon.